If you're new to the world of wine, the sheer number of producing regions around the world is enough to make you vomit up Boone's Farm into your shoes. Well, grab some new sneakers because we're going to whittle it down to just 10. Okay, ground rules. These are not in any order. I mean, that's the only rule. So ground rule. Ground rule. The Rhone Valley in France is actually 2 regions for the price of 1. The cooler north is known for its peppery Syrah and its very floral Viognier, while the warmer south focuses more on these Grenache-based fruity wines, using Syrah and Mourvedre as blending partners. If you're looking for a great introduction to these wines, try a Côte du Rhone Village. It should run you only between 15 to 25 bucks. And if you've got a little bit more to spend, try the Syrah-based peppery Côte Rôtie from the north. And if you've got a lot more to spend, just buy a ticket to France, and I shall stow away in your suitcase. So, Central Italy is a hot spot for excellent wines made from the Sangiovese grape with its cherry and oregano flavors. Now, the most famous of this is Chianti, but most famous doesn't always mean best. There's also the excellent Vino Nobile di Montepulciano and Brunello di Montalcino, both made from the Sangiovese grape. And if you want to go a little darker, there's always Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. This one isn't made from Sangiovese, it's actually made from a grape called Montepulciano. To say this wine is a food-friendly wine is an understatement. This one will save your life, especially if you're choking on a big tomatoey meatball. Rioja is an incredibly diverse Spanish wine region, known not only for its Tempranillo-based reds, but also its complex and delicious whites. Tempranillo is a must-know for students of Spanish wines in the same way that breathing is a must-know for organisms intent on living. Find yourself a Crianza Rioja or Reserva Rioja and revel in that dusty, cherry, figgy, tobacco-y goodness. Reminder to invest in Rioja-flavored vape cartridges. Mosel is one of the premier sites for the great Riesling grape. And if that makes you squinch up your nose and say, I hate Riesling, it's too sweet, just know that everyone hates you. I mean, I don't, but everyone hates you. The slopes in Mosel are incredibly steep, requiring the vines to be staked to single posts instead of trellises like are done elsewhere. And even though the Riesling here is usually fairly sweet, there's a trend even here in Mosel for dry wines. Just look for the word Trocken on the label, and when you see it, say Trocken really loud. Argentina didn't invent Malbec, but it sure put it on a lot of tables. Large portions of Argentina are actually too hot for quality grapes, but Mendoza is pretty far up in the sky. That high altitude means some low nighttime temperatures. That allows the grapes to keep their acid, which means that the wines get to keep their good solid structure. Malbec is a cousin of Merlot and shares some nice plumminess with its kin. And if you want to share plumminess with your kin, you might want to keep that on the down low. Just sit down and have a nice chocolatey Malbec and think about your life choices. New Zealand is also famous for a grape it didn't invent. This time we're talking about Sauvignon Blanc, which, like Malbec, is native to France. But the marketing forces in New Zealand are strong. And actually, so are the wines, which can have some nice tropical aromas and really good acidity. But don't limit yourself to New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. Marlborough also makes some really elegant Pinot Noir and Chardonnay in the kind of leaner Burgundy style. And though it didn't make this list, Central Otago actually makes some Pinot Noir that will melt your face, cover your head in papier mâché, and cut out eye holes that will allow you to see the infinity of creation. And really, isn't that the goal of all wine? Shiraz, Syrah, Shakira. The Barossa Valley in Australia has taken the surprise French Syrah grape and turned it into a big, bold powerhouse. These can be much bigger and richer and bolder than their Northern Rhone Syrah-based counterparts. But it's not just Syrah you want to look for in this region. If you still insist you can only drink dry wines, then never fear, Australian Riesling is here. It's the only beverage in the world that will make you utter the phrase, "This tastes pleasantly like gasoline." Ha-ha! You thought it was going to be Napa, didn't you? I know, bud, you're Napa. But as much as I love Northern California and its wonderful wines and cheeses and my lovely family who live out there, I think it's safe to say that most drinkers, especially US drinkers, already know Napa. So let's give Columbia Valley some love. If old grunge videos made you think that all Washington State did was rain on somebody's flannel shirt, let the Columbia Valley disabuse you of that notion. This area actually gets about the same amount of precipitation that the Gobi Desert does. And though this sounds terrible, it's actually great for wine grapes because that water stress forces the vine to put all of its resources into the fruit. So start off with a dark, fruity, minty, floral, slightly spicy Merlot, and then listen to some Mudhoney with your pinky raised. Stellenbosch. Stellenbosch! South African wine is great. Though Cabernet Sauvignon is the most planted grape in South Africa and makes some really excellent structured wines in this region, I've got to stop and point out South Africa's own native grape, Pinotage. 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 It's actually a crossing, not a blend, a crossing of Pinot Noir and Cinsault, and it makes these dark, rich, fruity, but slightly smoky wines. And where did they learn to smoke? They learned it by watching you, Dad. They learned it from watching you. So those are 10 wine regions every newbie should know. But the education doesn't stop there. Subscribe for more content from the Pocket Wine School, and remember, rock out with your corks out.